Hello, my name is Grant Imahara, and it is 11:03 on Thursday, April 1st.
It's 11:03 a.m. on Thursday, April 1st, and my name is Grant Imahara. He was one of only 3 people in the U.S. who could touch the real R2-D2. Studios gave him information worth $1 million. On Mythbusters he made things that were not possible. But behind the scenes he was thinking about something very dangerous. He felt dizzy while having dinner with his fiancée in July 2020. Within hours medics were working hard to save him. After 3 surgeries his family had to make an awful choice. This is what really happened. His birthday is October 23, 1970, and he was born in Los Angeles. Carolyn, his mother, raised him by herself when things were hard. She went to school for business at night and worked 12 hours a day at an accounting company. She turned down a better job offer in San Francisco even though it was better. She thought Grant would do better in school in Los Angeles. They lived in a small apartment with 2 rooms. She changed their dining room into a study space and helped him learn every night for 3 hours. She got him science kits instead of toys. Everything began with one of those Radio Shack kits. Grant began taking things apart when he was only 5 years old. He took apart 38 items in just 1 year. He didn't write anything down. He could remember each and every screw and wire. He once took apart the new microwave for the family and found a problem. His mother told him about it. The business called back 1,200 pieces. He was that smart even when he was in kindergarten. There were risks though. During a radio game when he was 6 he badly shocked himself. His heart stopped beating. He didn't tell his mom. He didn't want her to take his tools away. On May 28, 1977, everything changed. Grant went to the theater to see Star Wars. He was 7 years old. He did not move at all for 2 hours. From then on he could only talk in robot beeps. For weeks he didn't speak English. He missed 17 days of school that summer to build an R2-D2 out of spare parts he found in trash cans. He had more than 600 parts and pages of pictures by August. He didn't get much sleep because he read college-level guides with a flashlight under his blanket. He even changed the way his school's PA worked. Get the Star Wars theme to play. It worked better than before. In any case he was banned. Things didn't slow down when Grant started at Crestview Prep in 1984. He could go to college for free. He told a physics teacher off in class when he was 14. He wasn't allowed to go to school science shows after his 2nd year. The judges thought that his work was fake. His robot name was Murphy, and he made it in 1986. Jetstocks and an old Commodore 64 were used as parts. It was able to get around the school on its own. Things like that didn't happen very often back then. But it cost something. He hurt his hands when he soldered. He had early carpal tunnel by the time he was 16. In lieu of going to PE, he hid in a science room for nearly an hour every day and built robots. One teacher knew and didn't say anything about it. During his time in school he made 13 robots. Lots of his friends hadn't even passed math. He wanted to be an engineer when he started at USC in the late 1980s. But he hit a wall in 1992. It was too much for him. He was worn out. He even thought about becoming a screenwriter instead. He liked movies and telling stories. He really thought about quitting engineering. He asked about changing his major at the film school. They told him it would be hard. Then he met Tomlinson Holman, who made the well-known THX sound system. Grant was amazed. He did something brave right then. He offered to work for free as Holman's helper. To do that they had to clean up an office that was a mess and full of papers from professional groups like IEE and SMPTE. It wasn't exciting, but it made him feel alive again. He saw that engineering could be used in interesting ways. Giving back changed everything in that 1 year. Holman became a teacher. Grant got a job at THX through him. It turned into a full-time job right after I graduated in 1993. As of now, Grant is a licensed engineer at THX. He made sure that loudspeakers and other audio gear met all the requirements for THX approval by testing them. He paid close attention to how a speaker dealt with stress, how it worked at different levels, and how consistent the sound was. That turned into his life. It wasn't just lab work though. He would sometimes dress up as C-3PO for business events. Lucasfilm asked Grant to help them with the Star Wars name, and he agreed. In the moment it seemed like a small thing, but it showed that he was moving toward fun and more. From 1993 to 1996, Grant worked to make THX sound the same in all houses. He made ways to test speaker arrangements and figure out how to make sure that every theater had the same THX sound experience. He checked audio equipment from the makers and worked with sellers to make sure they followed strict technical rules. Because he checked the quality, the THX mark was on hundreds of houses and dozens of consumer goods. His path to becoming an industrial light and magic artist wasn't easy or usual. His first job was at Lucasfilm's THX section after graduating from USC in 1993 with a degree in electrical engineering. He worked at THX to make sure that stereo equipment met THX standards by putting it through stress tests. He wasn't going to stay there though. He did something brave in 1996 when he switched to ILM's model shop. Everything changed after that step. He wasn't hired just to mess around with models. There was something special about Grant when he came in. His mind was made for circuits and systems. Most model makers were artists or mechanics, but Grant was better because he was an engineer. Over the course of 9 years, he worked on movies like Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and Star Wars Episodes 1, 2, and 3. What does he do? Figure out how the wiring, lights, motors, and anything else that made the props move or glow worked. With R2-D2, Grant Imahara's journey did not begin with fame or a big break. In the middle of the 1990s, it started in the quiet, tech-filled rooms of Skywalker Ranch. At the time, Grant was just a skilled engineer who worked with Lucasfilm's storage team in the background. But his work stood out. They were interested in how much he knew about tech. Soon he was asked to improve the old R2-D2 models that were kept in the Lucasfilm archives. That small job turned into an event that changed my whole life. Soon after, Grant became a member of a very small club. He became one of only 3 people in the whole country who were publicly allowed to drive R2-D2 at live events and commercials. The other 2 were Nelson Hall and Don Bees. When the droid didn't work, the 3 of them would step in and fix things, even on big projects like Star Wars Episode 1. When problems came up on the London set, Rick McCallum, a director for Lucasfilm, went straight to them. Not just any technicians, but ILM technicians were to build a new R2-D2 from scratch. Grant was in the middle of it all. In 1999, all the parts for the Phantom Menace were being made, and Grant was in charge of rebuilding the droid from scratch. The older R2-D2s always had problems. They got stuck on tracks, got too hot, and broke down in the middle of takes. Grant's ideas were smart and easy to understand. The little wheels were changed out for bigger ones that worked better on flat floors, so he could move around better. He added a motor from an electric scooter. He also did the wiring for the radio settings, and the whole power system. It worked. R2 was easier to control and worked better now. In Attack of the Clones, Grant got the best new feature. He was in charge of making all 12 R2-D2 models better. One big change was the dome lights and logic displays that flashed. He got rid of the old broken lighting system, and put in LED lights that were made just for him. The tiny precise lights were controlled by a special microcontroller he had made before for Galaxy Quest, another movie. Grant knew how to make new magic out of old work. It was hard to work on set. It was really hard to watch the scenes with Naboo and the Phantom Menace. The floors were not level, and the furniture was fancy. The R2s were not made to handle that. Since the first 3 movies, the droids have had trouble with rough surfaces. The drive belts would sometimes get stuck when salt was used to look like snow. Because of that, Grant's job was more important than ever. Before the second show, McCallum said that all of the R2 units needed to be completely fixed up. That job was given to Grant to do first. Nelson Hall fixed up the paint job, and the way it looked, including making R2's signature blue color look good again. Grant wasn't just a guy in the background. McCallum gave Grant even more work to do when shooting for Attack of the Clones began in Sydney. He controlled R2 on set, and also kept an eye on Anthony Daniels, who was playing C-3PO. It showed how much the team believed in his skills. Grant kept building when he wasn't working. In 2000, he got together with some ILM friends, including Adam Savage and Fawn Davis, to make their own R2-D2s. They worked with the real thing. but they never copied any official parts, because they loved the brand so much. They made each piece by hand from scratch. Grant stood out, because he was determined to do things the right way. It was not just about being a fan. It had to do with honesty. The mechanical things he did after that only got better. He helped make quick change battery packs for R2 for episode 2. Something big was fixed by these new packs. The old batteries were bulky, took a long time to charge, and didn't always work. It was possible for R2 to stay on set longer thanks to the quick swap packs. It was a huge win. Even after Star Wars, Grant stayed close to R2. He made an exact copy of the original, even down to the strange design feature inside the dome. It was bubblegum glue that looked messy but was right. People wouldn't even notice the things he paid attention to. Grant was more than just an engineer who worked behind the scenes. His job title as an R2 mechanic was given to only 3 people by Lucasfilm. The people in charge called him by name when something went wrong. In episode 2, he oversaw the whole upgrade of the electronics, while his partner fixed up R2's looks. One of those tasks was fixing the wrong shade of blue from the first show. It was all about the details. Grant's fame had grown quickly by 1999. He was given the job of chief model maker for Galaxy Quest. He was in charge of one of ILM's most well-known model-making projects, just 3 years after starting the company. He used circuit boards to make light systems for the NSEA Protector spaceship that made the effects look real and shine. Finally, his mechanical skills met movie magic, and he was the only one who could make them work together. He still had to prove himself. He made a robot called Dead Blow on the side, and took part in the Comedy Central show BattleBots. The robot fought 17 times and won 10 times. That little machine helped his work become toys, a following, and even a 2003 book called Kickin' Bot. Grant made a name for himself in fields other than movies and robots. He knew how to take his ideas outside of the company. He helped bring the Energizer Bunny back to life in 2008. It was one of the most famous animals of all time. To make the animatronics better for the company, Grant made them from scratch. He made computer boards with radio controls and 8-bit chips. The bunnies could play their drums, move their arms, and twirl their drumsticks whenever they were told to. To show that Energizer meant what they said, each one had 44A batteries inside. They said, "Keeps going and going." Grant did more than just plan the processes. During film shoots, he took care of the bunnies himself. It wasn't just a cool tech trick. It proved that Grant could use his skills in any part of the entertainment business. He brought accuracy, creativity, and consistency to everything from hit movies to TV robot battles, and even battery ads. He did more than just build models. He was figuring things out. He was making things better. Someone or something happened on Mythbusters in 2005. The build team lost Scotty Chapman, but they got Grant Imahara, who was even better. He wasn't just a substitute. He changed everything. Grant was smart, and had worked for years at Lucasfilm's Industrial Light and Magic. He had a degree in electrical engineering from USC. He was also not new to the team. He had worked with Adam Savage and Tori Bellasi before, and in the BattleBots scene, he ran into Jamie Heenman. Adam had once said that Grant was the only one of us who really knew what we were doing. It was clear. When he got there, the bar was raised right away. Grant was known as the geek on the build team for 9 years and more than 200 shows. Not as an insult, but as a sign of pride. He was better at science stuff than Kari and Tori, who were better at art and builds. They made a great group when they were together. But Grant was more than just smart and funny. He also got his hands dirty, sometimes, in a physical way. During a 2009 show, the group chose to see if earwax could be used as candle wax. It was based on Shrek, and at first it seemed funny. Then the scary stuff started. A doctor gave them a jar full of earwax from a lot of different patients. Grant's job, warm it up. What was awful smell filled the air as soon as it melted though. The wax had germs on it. It smelled really bad. Grant was choking all the time. The move was caught on camera, and he had to leave the set. Years later, he still called it the grossest thing I've ever done in my life. Despite the messes and close calls, Grant always returned to what he loved most, robots. Before Mythbusters, he competed on BattleBots with a robot called Dead Blow, a fast-striking hammer-wielding machine. He didn't build Blendo. That was Jamie and Adam's creation, a terrifying spinning robot so dangerous, it got banned after just 2 matches. But Grant made his mark in his own way. In 2010, while still working on the show, he built an animatronic skeleton sidekick for The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. It became a fan favorite. After leaving Mythbusters in 2014, Grant didn't slow down. He teamed up with Disney to help design a cutting-edge robot project called Stickman. This became the basis for the Stuntronics robots now flipping through the air at Disney theme parks. But Grant's proudest project wasn't for TV or theme parks. Just before his death in 2020, he spent months building a lifelike Baby Yoda robot, not for profit, not for show, but to visit children's hospitals and bring smiles to kids who needed them most. Grant also had close calls on set, some far more dangerous than earwax. In a 2011 episode, the team built a replica of the flying guillotine, a weapon from old Chinese legends. Grant was in charge. While loading the device, it suddenly triggered. 3/4 ready, blades armed, and Grant right in the danger zone. The blade sliced through his shirt, barely missing his stomach. After that, he never touched it again without a thick leather apron. It was a reminder of how real the risks were on a show that tested myths, but often walked a thin line between curiosity and danger. While his career was in the spotlight, his personal life stayed mostly private. He was in a long-term relationship with costume designer Jennifer Newman. On December 7, 2016, at a surprise birthday party that turned into something more, Grant dropped to one knee and proposed. The ring was vintage, 1.56 carats, and cost him about $20,000. Jennifer's answer? Fuck yeah. That was them, raw, real, and deeply in love. Tragically, Jennifer was by his side during his final moments. It was July 11, 2020. They were eating dinner when Grant suddenly felt dizzy, weak, and in pain. Around 9 p.m., he became unresponsive. Jennifer called for help, and paramedics rushed him to the hospital. At first, doctors thought they could save him. He had a brain aneurysm. The first surgery went well, but he stayed unconscious. A second procedure followed, but things got worse. By the time doctors prepared for a third operation, they found the damage was too severe. Grant was only 49 when life support was removed on July 13, 2020. His death shook the science and entertainment world. Even in his final year, Grant wasn't just building machines. He was spreading happiness. He spent 3 months creating a fully functional animatronic Baby Yoda. He designed, programmed, and even 3D printed the parts himself. But this wasn't for TV or money. He wanted to take it to children's hospitals to bring joy. He's a happiness maker, Grant said. That's how he saw his work. Tools to make others feel better. He also mentored high school students in robotics. Years later, those same kids became mentors too. His impact is still growing. Grant's Japanese-American roots were a big part of who he was. Born in Los Angeles on October 23, 1970, he was raised by his mother Carolyn. His middle name Masaru means victory in Japanese. It fit him perfectly. His cultural values, precision, care and quiet strength showed up in every project. When he appeared on Mythbusters from 2005 to 2014, he wasn't just busting myths. He was showing Asian Americans that they could be engineers, creators, and stars on screen. He updated electronics on R2-D2, redesigned the Energizer Bunny, and broke barriers every step of the way. The Grant Imahara's time on Mythbusters ended in 2014, and fans were shocked. For 9 years, he had been a key part of the build team with Carrie Byron and Tori Bellasi. But things changed behind the scenes. Discovery Channel was cutting budgets. Executives wanted to reduce the build team's screen time and slash their pay. The trio stood their ground. They didn't accept the deal. After the 2014 season, they were out. Adam Savage later said he and Jamie Heineman didn't agree with the decision. He called it the wrong one. Many fans did too. Without the build team, the show felt empty. Ratings fell, and 2 seasons later, it ended. That mistake cost the show everything. But Grant didn't stop there. In 2016, he reunited with Carrie and Tori for a new show on Netflix. It was called White Rabbit Project, and premiered on December 9th. They explored crazy topics, jailbreaks,
superpowers, heists, even weird wabi-hupe weapons. Each episode had 6 items to test. They built things, did experiments, and ranked their findings. Viewers loved the energy. The chemistry was still there. But after just 1 season, Netflix canceled it. Insiders said the builds went way over budget. Others thought the show's format, covering too many things at once, felt rushed. Grant was disappointed. He saw it as more than a show. It was a way to keep teaching science in a fun way. Then came something truly magical. In March 2020, Grant showed the world his baby Yoda. But this wasn't a toy. It was a full animatronic figure, lifelike, moving, blinking, tilting. He built it in just 3 months after watching a few episodes of The Mandalorian. Every part was designed, printed and programmed by him. The head had tiny motors that made the eyes move and blink. The neck could tilt and turn. The ears were a nightmare. Heavy, flexible, and stubborn. He had to upgrade the motors several times to get it right. For the skin, he teamed up with a prop maker named Lauren Markland. She painted the silicone and added every single hair, one at a time, using a needle. It took days, but Grant had a purpose. He made it for children's hospitals. He wanted to bring joy to sick kids. That was the kind of person he was. But there was still one more big thing. Back in 2017, Grant posted a tweet. He said he was working with Disney on a secret project. Fans were curious. In 2018, the secret came out. He was behind a wild new Disney invention called Stickman. It was a robot that could flip through the air like a human stuntman. Just a simple stick figure on the outside, but brilliant inside. A few months later, Disney revealed the next version, Stuntronics. These were advanced robots that could launch into the air, adjust in mid-flight, and land safely. Grant had helped crack the code for how they stabilized. His knowledge of robotics made it happen. And this wasn't just a one-off. Disney planned to use these robots in shows and rides across all their theme parks. The evening of July 13, 2020 started out like any other for Grant Imahara. He was having dinner at home in Los Angeles with his girlfriend. But that quiet night took a terrifying turn. Grant, just 49 years old, had been dealing with bad headaches for several days. That night, around 9 p.m., everything got worse, fast. He suddenly felt dizzy. His neck and back hurt badly. Then his legs went numb. Within minutes, he was unresponsive. His girlfriend called 911. Paramedics arrived quickly. Oddly, his vital signs looked okay, but something was clearly wrong. He was in pain and fading fast. They rushed him to the hospital. Doctors found the cause right away, a brain aneurysm. It had likely been growing silently for a long time, and now it was bursting into a crisis. Doctors acted fast. They took him into emergency surgery. He survived the first operation, but he didn't wake up. On Sunday, they tried again. Another surgery, another long shot, but again no change. Still unconscious. On Monday, doctors ran an MRI. It showed something no one wanted to see. The brain damage was too severe. There was no hope left. After speaking with his family, they made the painful choice to remove life support. Just like that, the world lost a bright, brilliant mind. The news spread fast and hit hard. Fans, scientists, engineers and actors across the globe mourned. Adam Savage, his friend and Mythbusters co-star, said he was at a loss for words. He called Grant brilliant, generous, and gentle. Discovery Channel honored him with a 2-day marathon of his best shows, Mythbusters, Killer Robots, and White Rabbit Project. In the gaming world, even Dungeons & Dragons paid tribute. Matthew Mercer named a character after him, Imahara Joe, a genius tinkerer in a fantasy world. It was a beautiful way to keep his spirit alive. Grant's former fiancée, Jennifer Newman, shared her grief publicly. She said she had lost a part of her heart and soul. But even in death, Grant's story didn't end. On what would have been his 50th birthday, October 23, 2020, his mother, friends, and former co-hosts launched something powerful, the Grant Imahara STEAM Foundation. It was built to continue his mission of mentoring young minds. The foundation focuses on helping students from all backgrounds explore science, tech, engineering, art, and math. Grant had once mentored a high school robotics team, team number 841 at Richmond High. That team still exists today, led by someone Grant once mentored. In August 2021, over 80 props from Grant's time on Mythbusters were auctioned off to fund the foundation. Some of them were even built by him. The foundation now gives scholarships, pays for unpaid internships, and makes sure talented students can chase their dreams, no matter their situation.